What's going on YouTube today? We got my first place deck profile brand of Despia. Another one of these. This time it's not the first build that we profiled. It's a 45 card big pile of deck. I really wanted to try it out. I've seen a lot of people do like over 40 with the deck with things like the patchwork engine and allure again. So I decided to go ahead and give this a shot. Personally, did not really like it. It was cool and all, but like I never drew the reason to play the deck, like allure. I never drew the card. And honestly, a lot of my hands just felt a lot weaker just because of the higher density of like dud cards, if you want to call them that. Even though things like patchwork feel really good, they are essentially just like less ways to get to Aliber, if that makes sense, and brand diffusion. So yeah, I kind of didn't really like this build, but I figured I'd profile it because it did win. And it's just more content added to the channel. But with that being said, please remember to comment, rate, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Personally, I prefer the 40 card version, like I just said, but it was still kind of fun just to play it. Despia is easily my favorite deck of the current metagame. Of the better decks, I own all of them pretty much except for Sprite. Kind of bored of it, so don't really plan on picking it back up, but out of all the meta decks, this is probably my favorite one to play. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into it. We got the 3 Aliber, 2 Tragedy, and Ad Libitum. So this is pretty standard. Well, 2 of this isn't really standard anymore. I'm playing 2 because I'm playing Allure, so it kind of like, the idea was just to have an extra card to banish, and I like the Tragedy over the extra copy of Mercurier because Aliber is more important than Albaz, obviously. So decided to go ahead and try out 2. There was only one time where having the second one was really bad, where like I drew it for turn after searching it with last using Brandon and Red, but the idea was solid. For the Albaz cards, I got 3 Fallen. There's enough Cash Tiara at my locals to justify playing 2, but or 3, but I also wanted to play 3 since we're playing Patchwork. Poly in this is still like a way to combo if your Brand Fusion gets stopped. So obviously needed to play 3. Then the 2 Cartesia, the Mercurier, and the Albion, and a Spriggan's Kit. So I finally decided to go ahead and put Kit into the deck. The last time I profiled this, I just didn't have one. I don't know where it went, but I ended up getting one. And she was actually pretty nice. Being able to get back branded cards that having more ways to get to branded cards is just really nice, obviously. Albion is insane. We're not really focusing on the Lubellion Mercurier combo. So he's less important. We're not playing Brandon in white either because it was just like a dead card. So he's a little bit worse in this particular version, but he's still just a like free draw you can get. And there's actually a game where I had to summon him as a copy of Albaz by pitching a branded card in my hand. Mercurier's Mercurier, and then Cartesia is crazy. Like I usually always side one out, but like game 1 having 2 of her is super nice. For the Bestials, we're just down to the 2. This was a trend that picked up a lot after the YCS, but I really liked having multiple Lubellions. He just felt good, but I understand the reason for only wanting to play 1-1, because like they're pretty dead. Specifically Sarnir, he's pretty dead in a lot of matchups, and he's really just here for combo. Since we're not focusing on the combo too hard, it kind of makes sense just to cut him down to 1, and then Lubellion is only good with the Albion play, which is the one that we're focusing on primarily, so you don't really want to draw it, but like it's not bad if you do. I don't know, like these cards are just really, like they feel really lackluster this format. Obviously with dark decks taking a back seat, so maybe we'll see this trimmed down even farther to just Lubellion and but cutting the Bestials altogether. I don't know, they feel really weird to play in this current format. So being an Allure build, we're playing this as our primary disruption, being the 3 Kaijus. So I was going to play Super Poly in this deck, and I know I'm pretty like advocate to not play Super Poly because I just don't like the card. But I don't know where mine are. So I didn't end up getting two. So this is our only disruption. And let me tell you, Radion overperformed. Even if you go first with the card in your hand and you have access to a lore, like this card's just not dead. So it's really nice to play. The worst part about this card was it's level 7, but I didn't play any Cash Tiara, thankfully. If there was a Dark level 8 or something, I'd play that over Radion. Just because the level 7 is just can be detrimental. But there's only one Dark Kaiju. The 2 chain, this is an indicator that we're playing Patchwork, as I've mentioned before. So, yeah, 2 chain. And then the Dark Magician. We're still playing Dragoon, just because Dragoon is absurd. Yeah, Dragoon is a house of a card. For the spells, brand of spells, we got 3 opening, or not opening, sorry, fusion. Crazy. 3 opening, foreshadowed, but yeah. And then the 1 of each. So I wanted to play 2 branded in red, but I couldn't really find space. I didn't want to go on over 45. Like, I didn't really want to go past 43, but it's hard to fit all the cards in this deck. So second branded in red would have been nice. We're not playing branded in white in this because, like I said, we're not really focusing on that part of the combo. So, yeah, these are the spells. I opened Branded Fusion a lot in this, and I got it ashed a lot. But the theory with the Allure is like it helps you dig through pieces that you help you play afterwards. That's another reason we're playing this card too. Obviously, is Fusion Deployment. Getting access to Cartesia immediately is pretty nice. She's she's crazy. Don't really need to explain how good this card is anymore. 2 Patchwork, 2 Poly. So, like, they're crazy when you draw them. There was a lot of times where I drew like 2 of them together, like a Patchwork and a Poly, or a Poly and a Chain. So like it would make the next ones worse. But like every time you resolve Patchwork, you feel real good because you're getting so much advantage off of just Chain. It's honestly crazy how strong this engine is. I wish it was like able to still be played just like in base variants, but it's just too hard to fit all these cards in the deck and keep it super consistent. 3 Allure, this doesn't really need explained. Just dig. So I never got to play it, unfortunately, and never drew it. And then for the power 1 of Foolish, Gold Star, Called By. Called By is just for Ash. So we're 45 cards, but you know, sometimes you're just good with it. Decided it out pretty much every game I went second just because it's a dud draw and I'd rather have something else. Gold Sark and Foolish are insane. They're just more copies of Aliber. So don't really need to explain those either. And then the 2 traps. Since I didn't actually have Super Poly, because like I said, I have no idea where mine are at. I played the Banishment as my Super Poly. You know, you can't make the Garua in the extra deck with this card, unfortunately, but it was still just like an idea to play Granguino. I don't know how to pronounce it. Granola. So, yeah. And then Retribution is just like a nice card to like have in the deck to give your follow-up. Some like you can dump it off Albion for good follow-up. So it was cool to have. Never actually activated the on-field effect. And I will also preface this before we get into the extra deck that I do not play the Expulsion cards because my Gimmick Puppet Nightmare has not come in the mail yet. So, in case anybody's wondering, that's why. I probably also just wouldn't play it at my particular locals just because the card's kind of like unfair, but we'll see. For the extra, 2 Mirror Jade, 2 Lupelion, 2 Albion, and then a Rindbrum and a Sprint. So, or Spriggan. Is it what is this card called? It is called Sprint. So the idea between playing Sprint still is nothing like ridiculously metagame, but when you have access to Rindbrum, sometimes like you'll dump it with Mirror Jade instead of Albion, depending on your hand. This gives you just like a free card to summon off of the Rinbrum, because you'll summon the Albaz, and then you can, like, for example, Super Poly away anything into Sarah. If you already have like Mirror J as an example, like you could go Albaz effect, fuse off the Sarah, and then if you already have Mirror Jade, this gives you an extra card to summon. It's really good in simplified game states as well, being able to move columns and destroy cards. I really want to play 2 of this. I have an idea for what I would cut for it, but I haven't actually tried it out yet. Renbrum is crazy. Like, it's hard to make when you're not really like focused on that type of build, like the full combo build. So maybe playing 2 is just incorrect. But I really want to try it because like it's also just like an insanely good interruption, as I just like talked about. For the granola bar stuff, we got these. I don't typically summon Quertus anymore off of this. Like, I typically summon Perskinian, but I have the Quertus in here still just because it's a good monster to summon off of, like, Cartesia, just to help, like, dodge things with Aliber. It never really came up, except for once. Like, I was able to summon it underneath a Sprite deck, and then, like, the Quertus was able to just stall the game in a simplified game state to make it. But that wasn't this week. I didn't actually play Sprite this week, but Quertus has earned its spot in the extra, in my opinion. Perskinian was crazy. I stole a Dragoon with it. That was nuts. Kaiju the Dragoon, summon Perskinian. Perskinian take the Dragoon. I didn't get to actually use the Dragoon, but the idea was there. So that was pretty sweet. Perskinian was sick. And then for the other fusions, we got Chimera, the Trigostapelia, the Dragoon, and the Garua. Garua is here just to dump off a Perskinian if we've already got access to all of our pieces that we don't really care about dumping, like, duplicated cards. So gives us a draw. There's a lot of times where with him I would dump ad libitum because I didn't have like access to it. So there's usually always something better than Garua to dump, but I wanted the access of something just super generic, and my hand was like super bad to make it. The idea is also I'm supposed to be playing Super Poly, but as I've stated by now, don't know where mine are at. Definitely would still play Garua, and yeah, the other ones are self-explanatory. We're not playing 2 Dragoon because you can beat Kashtira without it, and it's pretty easy to out still. Like, you just have to have Scareclaw, Kashtira, and Fenrir in the field. And it clears the Dragoon because you'll attack with the Kashtira Fenrir. And then Scareclaw, Kashtira will immediately negate it since it was a battle with a Kashtira monster, and then they just activate Fenrir effect and banish it face down. So the Dragoon is not a hard out to the deck, but it's still very nice to have. Like, you can obviously negate like the Scareclaw, but then there are other ways to disrupt it. So I wasn't really focusing on it. They have to take that primarily, unless they have like the combo to get rid of it. So that's why we played it, just because it was like forced, and nobody's doing the 5-zone lock with Mind Hacker anymore. So it's even more free to not have to really worry about it. So for the side, I know every single week I profile something that I say my side was terrible. This week is no exception, mainly because I left my box with all my sideboard cards at home, so I had to make do with what I had, and I did not have a whole lot. So what we did have was 3 Nibiru, 3 Droll, 3 Danko, 3 D Barrier, and 3 evenly matched. So yeah, this was my side that I played last week, minus the evenlies, which were Solemn Judgments, I think, and then Nib, which was something else because I played Kashtira last week. I didn't upload the profile. I won, but I didn't upload because it's just Kashtira, you know. I'm pretty sure everybody's tired of seeing. I'm pretty sure most people are tired of seeing Brand at this point too, but this deck is really fun because you get to play a lot of ways to interact, and you get to play a lot of cool variants. Anyway, though, this is basically my Kashtira side from last week. Change up a few things, like the Econs. That's what it was, Econs over Nibiru, because like Econ doesn't really work in this deck as well. And I moved the Evenlies from their main deck to the side. And yeah, I kind of just had to throw a side together. Because like I said, I left all my stuff at home. that was side deck stuff. So this is what I had. Notable things, Denko is actually sick. Would have worked a lot better if I had fusion deployment on opening, but like the idea is if you can like dig into those, and then you have her, like, you know, you can alleviate not having a normal summon. Then D barrier's broken. Evenly matched is broken. Droll is mediocre, but there are certain matches and certain game states where it's the best card in the game. And then Nib is just for the disrespect of my opponent. If they're disrespecting me, I disrespect them with the rock. And that is it for the deck. Notable changes I would make, I would certainly find my Super Polys, and certainly would play my Super Polys, even though I'm not typically a gigantic fan of the card. This deck would have been really nice to have them, especially with the way I'm playing certain cards. But that's it for the deck. We're going to stop rambling here. Like I said, Brandon is my favorite of the meta decks at the moment. It's not that Cash is bad or anything, or like disinteresting. It's just I prefer to play this type of deck. So that's also why I'm playing things like Gate Guardian. Thanks to MCole40 for shouting me out. That was pretty nice of him. He didn't really have to do that. He could have just claimed he took it. But, you know, it was really cool that he did. Helped me get some more exposure. And if you guys want to see more Rogue decks, we have a spicy one coming this weekend, hopefully, if everything comes in the mail. And we're going to kind of like go back to the channel roots where we're kind of just playing like more roguey tech decks. Like my original decks were like Invoke Dogdo and Fluwanderies, even though that wasn't really rogue. It wasn't very respected until we got Advent. So we're going to kind of take a tone back from the meta. We're going to move towards rogue for a couple weeks, and then we're going to start grinding super hard for the YCS in Philly, which I'll be at. So if you recognize me, just come up, say hi. I'd like to meet some of you guys again. But yeah, remember to comment, rate, subscribe. Thanks for watching and listening to me ramble. We're trying to consistently improve the camera angles and stuff as well for local feature matches to help reduce glare, but it's pretty hard based on my locals, like where we get to play at. And I'm also trying to improve quality at home just so things look better, and, you know, for the viewing pleasure, it's just better. We're trying to make improvements every day. So let me know if there's any you think you can make. Thanks for watching. Peace, YouTube.